Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Engaging the Phenomenon. And today we have a special guest, and that's Andrew Radziewicz. So welcome, Andrew.
Hey, what's up, James? Long time no see, man. It's great to catch up to you after all these years.
Yeah, and that's why this is going to be a special episode, because I'm going to guess the majority of people don't even know. We've known each other for many years now. You know, I ended up meeting you at a CSETI training back in 2011. But just for an intro for the audience, so they understand who you are, where you come from. You're a firefighter in New York City in the FDNY, and your life kind of, I want to say, get flipped upside down, but took a turn, right? So for people listening, give a little background about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I was born in Alexandria, Virginia, and grew up pretty much in Floral Park, Long Island, New York. When I was around 15 years old, I used to watch that show on TV, Unsolved Mysteries. I used to watch that with my grandmother, loved it. For some reason, these paranormal shows or the ghost and spirit episodes are just amazing. I found fascinating. And I remember one time, this is around like that time, 95-ish. I look at my grandmother and I said to her, I go, when you pass away one day, Grandma, you go up to heaven and you're with Grandpa, can you promise me that you'll come back and give me a sign that you're okay? And she looked at me and said, yeah, I will. And I said, and if you do, when you do, I promise I'll tell everyone what really happened if it's possible. So I kind of forgot about that. I didn't dwell on that the rest of my life. I just said it for some reason when I was a teen. And then after that, so like the late 90s, I was in the US Coast Guard stationed in St. Petersburg, Florida. I was on the Coast Guard cutter Durable. It's a medium endurance cutter out of St. Petersburg, Florida. We would patrol the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. I was a young kid, like 19 years old, just a young pup. And I went down there alone. I didn't know anybody, didn't have any friends down there, nothing, just totally by myself. And I was on a boat with 72 people total, 60 enlisted, 12 officers. And we'd go out on patrol, usually for like a month or two. It wasn't too bad. And one patrol we went on, we were down in the Gulf of Mexico, like I said, and the Caribbean, that area. The exact location we were in when I saw a couple of UFOs. I can't give you the exact coordinates on one. I can't tell you exactly. Well, we're not supposed to give the exact location anyway, but we were doing a patrol. I was out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so ocean, that's it, just sea everywhere. And it's late at night, it's after midnight, and you would take turns every 4 hours. Two guys or girls, you'd go up, and one person would steer the boat, and the other person you with would be on top of the boat on what's called the flying bridge. And basically, one guy's steering inside where all the command and panels are on the boat. And then you go up above the boat on the flying bridge, you're by yourself. You have giant, big binoculars, you got night vision goggles, and you got a little handset binoculars. And about every 5 to 10 minutes, you're doing a perimeter scan of the boat. So you're looking with your regular binoculars, your big ones, and your night vision. If you see anything, you report it down. There's a tube, literally. You open the tube and you can call down. It's like a real old fashioned, but you can call down and say if you see something, and you give the direction, the coordinate that it's at based on degrees. So I'm up there. I'm the lone night watchman. I mean that lone because I'm the only one up there. And I remember we're going straight ahead. There's nothing in the ocean except just sea, just like a deep blue sea. And to the left, so looking straight ahead, just slightly to my left, I see a silver object. I'm looking through night vision goggles, right? So I could see the silver object. Then I see another one, but they're slightly staggered. So one is just slightly in front of the other one, right? Just a little. It's like, but they're going in formation with each other. It looked like they were together. So I'm like, all right, these must be some sort of satellite. Now, you're going back to the late 90s, okay? Not today's day and age. The late 90s, times were different. So it was a law, at least I remember the late 90s, early 2000 in the military, if any objects was in the sky or in the water, if they crossed the front of the boat or the rear of the boat, by law, they'd have to notify us. They'd have to call us on a radio and just identify themselves. If they didn't do that and we reached out to them for an identification and they say they ignored us, we had the right at that time to shoot them. We had the right to engage if you did not respond to us. Because in the late 90s, like I said, early 2000s, we took that as a threat because we didn't know. Maybe they're a drug runner. Maybe it's migrants. Maybe it's drug interdiction. We have no idea. You're in the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean, and a lot of illegal stuff coming in and out of there. So I see these two silver objects in the sky. I put the night vision down. I could still see them now with my naked eye. I call down to the bridge. So the officer on duty comes up, the OOD we call him. He comes up, and next thing I know, there's about a dozen people up there with me. And we're all looking. Now there's more people up there. We're all looking. We're watching these two objects, one just slightly in front of the other one. And I could see them now. I don't need binoculars, nothing. I'm seeing them. Like I said, this is after midnight. So I look to my left, and now I see the captain of the boat is there. Somebody woke him up. So to wake up the captain of a boat in the U.S. Coast Guard after midnight, like, 1, 2 in the morning, to wake him up, it better be important. That's all I have to say when you're out on patrol, because, it's startling. You wake somebody up, what's going on? So we're up there. Now there's about 20 total people up there. I couldn't tell you. Might even been more, but I saw it was a whole fleet of people up there. We're all looking, wow, wow, wow. And they had nothing on their radar. I asked the radar man, what do you got? He's like, there's nothing. So that eliminates, is it a plane? Is it a satellite? Is it some sort of military exercise? Unless it's something we don't know about. But to put us at risk like that, like I said, once again, if you're not identifying yourself and you're coming near our vessel, we can shoot you. So to take that risk, even if it's a secret government project, that would be pretty crazy, even if that was. So these two objects are one slightly in front of the other one. They're going in formation. Now you're passing like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. I can't tell you exactly how long, but it was long enough to get 20 people up there, for everyone to see this, everyone to look at each other like, whoa, what's going on? And then the two objects come together. And when they come together, they merge as one. And then they do not shoot off in any direction. When they come together as one, they're gone. No trail, no sound, no trace, nothing. And all I could tell you, being a 19-year-old young person, was I thought, wow, if there's a human in that, they must have exploded. Wherever they took off or went to, your body wouldn't be able to handle the G-force or whatever that is. I didn't know what it was at the time. Like I said, I had no idea. All I know was I'm seeing something and I have all these witnesses. Now, the next morning, right? So I finished my shift at 4 a.m. and around 9 o'clock is roll call, 0900 roll call. So I couldn't sleep. I finished that. I go back to my bunk and I'm like, what was it? That's wild. Like, I still couldn't comprehend whatever that was, because we always had an answer for something. When I was in the military, if we saw something, someone came by us, even if they didn't acknowledge us, we'd go after them, we'd track them down, we'd engage with them, talking, we track them down. This didn't make any sense. We're not getting any radio signal, nothing on the radar, no communication. So I can't figure out what could that be. In the morning, we had roll call. No one said anything. The captain of the boat, the officers, nobody said nothing. I grabbed one of my immediate officers, one of my immediate superiors, and said, hey, boss, did you hear what happened last night? He goes, yeah, I heard about that. And that's it. He didn't want to talk about it. Like, he didn't say, don't talk about it. He didn't say, shut up. It wasn't brought into your room and nothing like that. It was like nothing. Like, they just like, whatever. And I asked one guy who had been, he was a cook and he had like 20 something years. I said, hey, bro, I saw something wild. And he goes, yeah, I've seen a lot of things over my time. He goes, do yourself a favor, just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Well, we see how that worked out, right? So, yeah, that was my first experience. And I still to this day, I was never told, do not say anything, don't talk about it. If I was, I would respect that and I would not have said anything, but that was not the case. So at that point, James, right? That's my first real, hardcore, amazing interaction. And that's, like I said, late 90s, early 2000. And then I remember 2001, I heard about this guy, Dr. Stephen Greer, that claims he had all these ex-military people and that they were involved with covering up the truth of the phenomena. And I found that interesting. So between the sighting and when I heard of Greer, in between, no, I wasn't outside at night. I wasn't doing C5, nothing like that. I was just working. I was in the Coast Guard, and then after that, I became an electrician. I just went about my life, just whatever. Just went about my life. It was not obsessively, watching Star Trek or Star Wars. Nothing like that. I just went about my life, did my thing. It was kind of like, all right, that was cool. I heard about Greer, and then I saw the Disclosure Project, the presentation he did, and I go, okay, this is really interesting. So in 2011, right, 2006, I get on the New York City Fire Department. I become a New York City firefighter. 2011 rolls around. I am a firefighter at this point for about 5-6 years, right around there. And I finally join, go online, start checking things out. Up until this point, I was not online searching these things or talking with people that had contact, nothing. I heard about Dr. Greer. I looked him up on YouTube, saw a video, and then he said, oh, I'm doing these weekend expeditions. So I was like, whoa, what's this all about? This guy claims that he can make these things appear. So at the time I said, I don't know about that. But if he's got ex-military guys, I want to meet some of them because I've seen something too that was really strange that I can't explain. So I hopped on a plane from Long Beach, Long Island, where I was living at the time, flew out to Borrego Springs, California, with my partner at the time, who was a police officer. Okay. And we're both open-minded, like, all right, maybe this is possible. We have to see it though. Being a firefighter and being with someone that was a cop, we were like, we need to see this. We're going to look for like the tricks or whatever he's doing, and we'll figure it out. Whatever, if he's not doing it, then we come back, we'll tell everyone he's full of crap. Like, I got nothing, it is what it is. If he's not doing this, then I want to let people know he's full of crap, because for the price it was, a couple $1,000s to get out there, and then we made a vacation out of it. So you pay, just say for 2 people to get out there was maybe, I don't know, $5,000, something like that, whatever. And then the hotel, staying for a week in Cali, and then we stayed a couple days before and after. We just made a vacation out of it. So,
And
I don't know what
that was one of the first events where there was that price hike, because the events used to be much cheaper. They got raised, and I understand that's, whatever, that's, if you're running your own show, you do what you want. But when that change did occur, I did speak to CSETI leadership and say, it's not, I don't think this is the best if you want to get as many people out in the field doing this work as possible, but that's what happened. And, it is what it is. But I did end up meeting you there, which was, we're both from New York, and, we meet each other out in California. So yeah, go into the 2011.
Sure. So yeah, absolutely, James. So I fly out there like open-minded but skeptical, and I'm like, I'm not going alone. So my partner was like, yeah, I'll check it out, whatever. So we flew out there, and of course I'm from New York. I don't know anyone in the group. I get there, I don't know anyone here. I don't know anyone. And then I'm like, oh, hi, I'm Andrew. Oh, I'm James. Yeah, I'm speaking to you right now. James literally is in the group. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So we show up there, we get there, and literally the night before we get there, we had a phone list of some of the people that were going to be there. So we're at a restaurant and we're chilling, and you get put into groups of 4. So my group was me, my partner, this wonderful lady from Malaysia, Tanaya.
Yeah.
Tanaya's
I remember
amazing.
her. Yeah, she's great.
And Dr. Bill Gray.
Yeah.
So those are my 4. So both of them have had, before I met them, plenty of contact experiences. Me, I had not had any in my face C5 that I have conscious recollection of up until that point. No close encounter up until that point of recollection, Put me in a regression, I'm sure there's a million things, but consciously, no, I can't tell you that. I did see that thing in the sky in the Coast Guard, so that's all I knew up until that point. So the night before this starts, we're in a restaurant, and we call our group members, because like, oh, cool, let's find our group. Maybe they're here. So we're sitting in a restaurant. I'll never forget this. Tonight walks in, and she's on fire, man. This lady was 1,000 miles an hour talking. I loved it. She was great, talking about contact and this and that. Pulls out her iPhone. She goes, I had contact on the way here. Look, Andrew. And she's going through her iPhone, showing me photos of craft in the sky. Now, this is an old school iPhone, whatever this was, or whatever phone this was. This is late night. This is 2011. So whatever iPhone at the time or cell
Yeah.
phone, she had pictures on her phone. That's all I remember. I don't even know if I had a color phone at that time, but she was showing me photo. Oh yeah, I wrote a book, and my craft come to me all the time. I could feel them in my heart, and I'm thinking, what? What is this lady talking about in her heart? Like I'm a New York City firefighter. If I went into work and told guys, hey guys, yeah, I went on a meditation retreat and I connected with my heart to UFOs, they'd be like, what, are you kidding me, bro? Get out of here. So yeah, this is what I'm thinking, like, oh God, what have I got into? So this is the night before. We meet her. She was lovely. The next day comes, we go out, we have our first night out, and there's about 20 people to 30 people in the group, roughly around that. Some people came, and then Dr. Grissa had some of his crew and was sitting in the circle. The first night out in the field, I saw nothing. So I was like, maybe it's me. I've never done this. I haven't been meditating long enough. I haven't tried hard enough. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the one. Maybe it's because me and my partner didn't do enough meditating before we came. We're thinking all these crazy things. And I remember Dr. Greer saying, when you get back to your hotel room, if you have contact, if something happens in the night, just remain calm and observe what's there. So I'm not even thinking that's going to happen. I get back to my hotel room. We go to sleep. I'm exhausted. I wake up about 3 something in the morning to go to the bathroom. There's a green light on the wall, like the flash of a camera, straight ahead at the end of my bed on the wall. There's a green flash just flickering, like the flash on a camera, literally. It looked like a tic tac, a little bug. So I wake my partner. I'm like, yo, you see that? She goes, yeah. Like, I'm going to get up and try to see what that is. Maybe it's from a smoke detector or a light outside. Now, mind you, we're staying in Borrego Springs. That's like the desert, the middle of nowhere. It's not like New York City with lights outside everywhere. There's nothing going on outside. Nothing. James can attest to that. Nothing. So
Yeah.
middle of the night, it's dead, like literally. So I get up, I go to the wall, and of course now the green thing's gone. So it's like I'm looking all over the room, looking outside. There's nothing. I go back to bed. I sit down. Boom, the green thing reappears. Then it moves a few feet up. It ascends. So me and my partner both see that. I look at her. You saw it? She goes, yeah. I go, all right. Let's do what, like Rhea said. He said, just sit there and welcome it. So we spoke out loud because this is the first time we were doing this. We were like, okay, whatever you are, you're welcome to be here. You could stay here. And we just turned, we just did a little meditation. We turned towards each other, looked at the object, and the object just flashed every maybe minute around that until the sun came up. So you're talking a good 2 to 3 hours, like whenever the sun rises in Cali, 5, 6 a.m. And then I could not wait to go tell the group in the morning. The sun rises, and in the morning we met at Greer Estate in this villa. And we get there and we sit down in the morning, and Dr. Greer says, oh, so did anyone have any contact last night in the hotel room? And I'm like, yeah, it's something happened, but once again, I don't know. Like, I've never had this happen before, so I don't know. I need to know more. Is this the real thing? Am I imagining this? Is this something else? You know what I mean? Did he do this? Did he set me up? I'm thinking everything possible except no, this is real, right? I'm trying everything. I want to eliminate every possibility. So I explained to the group, which James was there too, exactly what happened. And Greer said to me, well, what did you feel like? What did you feel like was happening? I said, what did I feel like? I felt like there was a giant craft outside, and it sent a probe in, like this little light was like part of the craft or a probe, and it came in and it was just checking us out to make sure we weren't going to freak the heck out. And then it stayed there, it left, and then now we're cool. And Greer looked at me and he goes, exactly. And I was like, yeah, that's how this works? He goes, yeah, sometimes they'll come to make sure you're not going to panic or you're not nervous, and they'll give you a download, or vice versa. You'll get some sort of information. And then after that, you'll notice that your contact might accelerate. Well, I have to say, since that moment, since he said that, from literally that moment, I started seeing some things during the day, some orbs, some things during the day. I wasn't certain, is that an orb, a ball of light? What's going on? But that night, from that night on, till this day, today, which is 12 years later, I've had contact every day that I've done a meditation, or even some days I don't do meditation. Sometimes now I'm the guy that's feeling it in his heart first, and then I go outside and these things are there, these lights in the sky, these craft, and I never once have had a single negative experience because Like when I met Greer, he told me, if you go into this with a childlike mind, like a Zen mind, beginner's mind, keep it green. You just go in playful like a child, you will get that in return. So that's all I know. Every time I've had contact, that's what I've done. I've somehow been able to keep that state and remained open and peaceful and loving. It's like I would see a relative or my grandmother on Christmas morning when I see them. That's how I treat them. And it's vice versa. That's how I feel when they're going to come. I get tingly in my fingertips and my toes now. And I'll tell my kids, because I'm married now, we'll get into that, but my whole family, my wife and my 15, 14, and 3-year-old, we have all seen Craft together on film, recorded and everything, documented. And how do I know it's legit? Because I've had it analyzed several times through people here at MUFON, Roger from MUFON here in Australia, Jason Gleaves out at UF Only. He's analyzed some footage too. And I knew in the beginning, this stuff is genuine. This is what's going on. But it's good to get validation from professionals that are really doing this too. So when I was in 2011, to get back to that, right, I have that experience. I heard, oh, wow, there's also a contact group in New York near Albany that does this. I was like, wait, so there's people that are getting together, meditating and doing C5. Like, they're like, yeah, we do it once a month, every month in near Albany. I'm like, oh my God, that's only like 3 hours from where I live in New York. I'll drive there, of course. And they're like, yeah, James knows about it. I'm like, really? So me and James started talking and said, wow, we got to get together outside after this weekend and, let's do some C5 near upstate. And we did, right?
Yeah, for years. And that was a really fantastic group. I mean, and for the most part, that group was really kind of low key, but had their own unique approach. And I think some of the founding members were, again, Marilyn, Diane, myself, and Eric Salisbury, and then the group over time really grew and also developed its own, like you would say. I mean, for people that may not understand the kind of interactive component or even the positive interactive component, because there are people who have negative experiences, and I don't want to dismiss or undermine those at all, because those are valid experiences. But I mean, even for myself, the majority of my experiences, 9 out of 10, have been super positive. And again, when we were in that group, we utilized a very heart-based approach. It was hosted by 2 women who had backgrounds in consciousness and psychology and meditation. So they were able to really do something unique there. And I mean, yeah, Andrew, you can speak to it. We had wonderful group experiences, and it was more than just about the contact, the connection that we all had as a group, and kind of almost unifying our consciousness. And that point was really what made the group very powerful.
Yeah, and that's so important too. So I was in California. I met like-minded people, right? We're all there together with the same intent.
From all over the
every
world too. Yeah.
Yeah, you had people from Malaysia,
Germany,
from New York, Germany,
UK,
California, Florida, London. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I did not know one of these people, but we had the same intention. And the intention was to have peaceful contacts. And then I remember one night we're there, and all of a sudden, Dr. Greer says, yeah, we're going to have someone come join us. He's an actor in Hollywood. And I was like, what? People in Hollywood do this stuff? Are you crazy? Like, nah, come on. And all of a sudden, walking in comes Thomas Jane, the guy who does the voiceover in Dr. Greer's film Sirius, the guy from HBO Hung. There's no secrets. He was there. Yes, he made contact with us. So this guy walks in, and I'm like, I know that guy. We watch Hung in the Firehouse, bro. Of course. Yes, it's a great show. Oh my God, this guy's into this. And not to talk about his experience, that's his business, but he was there. And I remember one day, he was a little quiet. He was a little quiet. I just want to keep to his own. That's cool. But he did do C5 with us. And one day, Dr. Greer came up to me and he's like, hey, Thomas wants to talk to you and your wife, whatever, you and your partner, about C5, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, no problem. So we literally went on the side and just talked to him about our experience in the room with the green light. the green flash coming in. And Thomas explained to us that he had a very, very similar type of experience. He's very intimate, amazing, powerful. And it was refreshing because I was like, wow, there's people literally from all walks of life that you'd never know. They're on TV that are doing this stuff, you know. We're at a point now where it's definitely more open and accepted. But back then, 2011, I was not on social media. I did not go back home posting about this. I wasn't sharing about this. I did not go back to the firehouse and talk about this.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I wanted anyone knowing. You know what I mean? So I kept this quiet. I just did what I did there, got back to New York, met James and the people in upstate New York. So from 2011 until I left for Australia, like 2018-ish, I was going up to Albany, New York as much as I could. I was trying to go monthly. Then in the summertime, we would have like an all weekend intensive, like a 3-day retreat, which is amazing. So we would work on, like you said, like a heart-centered consciousness. And when you have the right group there, when you have a few people, only if it's 3 or 4, but you're all there with that right intention and you're not afraid and you're sitting in love and consciousness and openness, you will have the most amazing experience possible. If you're afraid or if you've had negative experiences, okay, I don't know if that's the right group for you. I don't know. I can't say that. I don't know. I know that if people have had negative experiences or have been abducted or whatever they've experienced, number one, I know that I've heard that there's groups out there that are, number one, faking these experiences, that they're simulating abductions. Okay, there's a faction out there, and I've heard of that. So even if that is true, that's horrible. Well, whoever is doing this, whether it's human, fake, real, whatever it is, that's horrendous. I don't think that that's what this is all, that's what it should be about. That's not what I've experienced. However, I have met people that have gone through that stuff and realize that there's more to it. Number one, they have stepped away from the abduction aspect of it. They've either gone to therapy or they've done regressive therapy and they've worked through this stuff. So whatever you've been through, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist. When people ask me, how do you know you're not crazy? You know, who's the psychologist, the psychiatrist you check in? I say, well, actually, my group leader from Albany was a PhD psychiatrist. Yeah. So I would check in with her, and my wife works in mental health. So you always have to have that combination with this stuff when you're doing this and when you're going through those things, or if something negative. Sometimes I've noticed too, when people are going through negative things in life, that might reflect in contact or in dream work or things like that. So it's very important to remain spiritually sound when you're doing this work. If you just had a death in the family or you're going through a horrible time in life, if you're really stressed out, I don't know if that's the appropriate time to go and do stuff like this. Sometimes you just need to go check in with a doctor or to take time out. You know what I mean? This is not the answer for everything. Should not be therapy for people. It might be therapeutic, might be part of it, but talk therapy and getting professional help from a professional, which I have done, and I'm going to literally get into that too. So when I was at my group in Albany, right? So I come back from Dr. Griot's, I'm with my group in Albany. We're sitting in a meditation circle and I have my eyes open, right? They're open. And I always keep them open when I meditate. The reason I do, I don't want to miss anything. And I had my eyes open one night. We were inside upstairs in Maryland's in her yoga meditation room, was sitting there in a circle holding hands. And I'm looking straight ahead, and all of a sudden, these purple droplets, they look like little purple raindrops, drop down from the ceiling, go into my chest one after another. I'm sitting there in a meditation. I can't say anything because we're in a meditation. Can't say, hey, look, everyone. So, but I'm like, I hope someone sees this. Oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. And then they come out of my chest and float back into the ceiling. So I'm like, I'm waiting for this meditation because I just want to share with the group. I don't know what this is, but whoa, that was amazing. So whatever this was, right? I see these droplets come down and come into me. The meditation ends. I ask the group, I share with them what happened. And someone says to me, I saw a couple ETs walking around you, extraterrestrials. Now, at this point, I was not seeing extraterrestrials walking around me. So I was like, what are they talking about? I said, I saw these droplets. And one very important thing to remember with this stuff, like I said, when I first learned this, someone said, oh, I open my heart and I connect with them. I'm like, yeah, right. What I've learned over this journey, over this 12-year period, as you keep meditating and as you keep making contact and it's peaceful, okay? I don't go into this and say, I want to levitate, I want to be psychic, I want to be this, I want to be that. But by continuing to meditate, I have peeled back more layers of the onion, if you want to refer to it like that. And as a result of continuing to meditate, I have had experiences like seeing lights in the sky to now lights on the ground, or something on the ground, or something paranormal happen as a result of these interactions. It's not, I didn't go into it and say, I want this to happen, or I want to see a being or a craft or a light right next to me. But that has happened as my evolution, as my growth has happened along this process. It didn't happen on day one, and it didn't happen in year one, but eventually, as this intensified and got deeper, I started getting closer and closer to the phenomena. It just happened. Now, James, have you had anything like that happen? Does that make sense to you with your,
Yeah, for
years of
sure,
this?
for sure. And again, Jacques Vallée has been great at noting that in post contact effects, and it's almost like what is it first, the chicken or the egg, where somebody has a UFO encounter and then all of a sudden, over weeks and months, they start having psychic, like a psychic boost. They start having psychic experiences, spiritual transformation, a radical change in their paradigm of the universe and the world and their place in it and their connection to it. So, yeah, for sure. That kind of comes with territory. And, I think it's very important what you said before about, if you're going through a rough time, maybe you don't want to be focusing too much on contact in that regard. But at the same time, the catch-22 about that is sometimes traumatic experiences and trauma seem to awaken these things spontaneously as well. So it's, sometimes you don't have a choice. And that's when people get into territory like that, where they're having an experience and they may perceive it as negative, or, I'm not going to say it's not negative, whatever it is. But they do end up usually massively growing from it, and if you look at the experiencer study done by Free, or, now it's CCRI, the majority of people, it was like over 80%, said, they wouldn't take back the contact because, in retrospect, something may have seemed frightening or harsh or disturbing at the time, but they have grown and awakened more because of it, and they wouldn't have changed it. They saw it as part of a growth process.
Yeah, I think that's really important too. I know Travis Walton has publicly spoken about this too. If you watch the movie Fire in the Sky, it looks awful, and they're coming after him and they're probing him and doing these awful things. And he speaks, if you hear him, he'll say, that's not happened. That's not what happened at all. They actually healed me. I got too close to the craft. I got hurt. They brought me on board. They saved my life. He goes, but they made the movie. They showed me the final cut. And I said, that's not what happened. And they go, well, this is Hollywood. We got to make it a little dramatic. It's too late. You signed already. So when people ask me what you've experienced, would you ever make it into a show or a movie or this or that? And I said, yeah, of course. But number one, it's going to be with the right people, because I'm not going to have that happen. Okay. Because it almost had to happen. Saved a few disasters over the years with this stuff by talking about it. I came back from New York, right? Like I said, I wasn't telling anyone. 2011, wasn't sharing this with anyone. So the years start to go on, right? Now my grandmother passes away. So she passes away. I meet Greer, right? And then I'm in a restaurant in town with my mom in Floral Park, New York, where I grew up, a place called Jameson's. We're eating dinner after my grandmother passed a month later. This guy comes up to us, long hair and earrings, and he goes, someone in your family just died? I go, yeah, I don't know who this is. He goes, and she had cancer right here on her face. I go, yeah, that's my grandmother he's talking about. And he goes, which one of you? You or your mom was born on Easter Sunday? My mom was born on Easter Sunday in 1954. So I go, who are you? And he's like, oh, I'm Robert Hansen. I'm a psychic. I'm like, oh, he's like, yeah, I'm speaking here tonight, blah, blah, blah. They had a psychic dinner thing or whatever. So I was like, that's interesting. So I wait a year. No internet, no nothing. I track this guy down again. I go in because I was going through an awful time. Okay. And I went to a priest. I went to a therapist. Wasn't enough, man. I needed to make sense of everything going on in life, right? I needed an answer. And I'm like, maybe this medium guy will help me, right? I don't know. So I go in, he lets me record it. I still have it. And at the end of the recording, he goes, you have a relative named Emma that died and she was buried in a christening dress. I go, nah, it doesn't sound familiar. So I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about. So after the reading, I go to my mom's house. I walk in her living room. I go, Mom, I go, listen to this. And he says, oh, relative named Emma, she died. She was buried in a white christening dress. My mom, and I'm in my mom's living room, and there's a photo on the wall, an old photo of a little girl in a white dress. I go, Mom, that's you, right? She goes, no, that's Aunt Emma, but she died over 100 years ago. I go, what? I go, how did that guy know that? I didn't know that. I thought it was you my whole life. I've been telling my friends, look at my mom as a baby. She's beautiful. It wasn't her. Yeah, still on her wall to this day. So I'm like, all right, that guy knows something. And at the end of the reading, he says, he goes, you know, you have this. I go, I have what? He goes, you have the gifts. And I'm like, what? No, what do you mean? I'm a firefighter. He goes, you can do this stuff, what I'm doing. I go, okay, maybe. I go, I'm into UFOs. And he's like, be careful with that stuff. This is different. So I was like, okay, what do I do? What do I do though? He goes, come here on the weekend. I'll show you. I'll help you interpret the messages. You got it though. I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. So I go back that weekend. I sit with 20 to 30 people I do not know, I've never met. And I sit, literally, we meditate for 5 minutes. He sits me knee to knee with someone. And I'm like, he goes, tell him what you're seeing. So all of a sudden, boom, I'm sitting with this person. And it's like a old black and white movie starts to play out. And I'm seeing these fast images, like an old Charlie Chaplin film. And I'm telling this person, I'm like, I see a car going down the block, but it's in reverse. They hit a tree. Someone gets ejected. They lose their right leg. And they're like, yeah, that's my Uncle Jack. I was like, all right, they're lying to me, right? They got to be, right? This guy set me up, man. It's got to be something to this. Well, this keeps happening week after week. I'm going there. Everyone's telling me, yeah, you're accurate. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know, man. So I'm going to the firehouse working, and on my days off, reading people, just training, learning, evolving this. And then at night, I go home and I'm having contacts still. And at this point, I'm still not filming it. I'm recording it, nothing. I still don't want anyone to know. So you're going through like the span from like 2011-ish till around 2016-ish, maybe around there. That 5-year span, I didn't want people to know. Kept it to myself, kept it quiet. Well, death is really interesting. It has an interesting effect on us. So I lost a best friend at 5, and I lost a best friend at 13. And I remember I wasn't the same after that. Something happened. In me internally, man. I just didn't look at things the same. Like I was like, we're here and then we're gone, and that's it. Nah, man. There's got to be something more to this. So I started doing this psychic work. Like I said, it was just helping people. I was just my days off. I was just helping people. Then guys at work found out. So then I was reading guys at work or after work, and then I was reading their wives. When I was reading guys at work, I was like, yo, but I know you. Like, you're going to tell me like, oh, you know all this, or there's other things that you couldn't know, but maybe you know. I said, no, let me read your wife or your wife's cousin, because then you can't say I know anything about her. So I started doing that. And they'll attest to it too. You know, they'll grab me on the side and go, oh, don't talk about this at work, man. But I have to work. Could you read me? I'm like, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And they would come to me and tell me stories, bro. Dude, I've seen UFOs. I've seen this and that. Big, rough, tough guys like you would never believe. They're like, but don't tell anyone in the firehouse, please. I'm like, I'm not going to tell anyone, man. I know this is real.
Yeah.
I know, right? So it's kind of like I was living a double life, kind of, right? Like I'm going into work, doing my thing, but then like, you know, all this stuff is happening. Well, next thing you know, I'm talking a little more. People are talking about this stuff. And then it was time. So I was like, all right, man, I want to find out about this. Like, I want to get more answers. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to do an interview, man. That'd be weird. Like, I don't know. Then everyone would know. So I did an interview with the guy, Michael Harrell. And during his interview, Very, very controversial interview. Okay. I get a brand new Mac computer. This guy interviews me. Some weird stuff starts happening in the interview. I did not touch anything. I did not fabricate anything. I've never done that. I will not do that. I don't do that. So as I'm getting interviewed by this guy, he's like, dude, your face is changing color. I'm like, what? He's like, look, turn it around. So I turn the computer around and he's like, you're turning dark blue. I'm like, okay. He's like, leave the room, come back. So I did. I left the room, come back. Something was going on. I'm like, all right, maybe the computer's broken. I don't know. So I kept talking, did the interview. I went and bought another computer. It happened again, and it happened again, and again. And I'm not savvy. I wouldn't know how to adjust or change something. So it wasn't the computer. I bought a different brand. I did everything. Well, somehow Mary Rodwell from Australia sees this. I'm sure you've heard of her. And she goes, I want to talk to this guy. So I was like, I don't know who's Mary Rodwell. What, I've heard of her, but she goes, I think you're activating something in your DNA. I was like, oh, I don't know. That sounds out there, but whatever. So she goes, I want to do a regression on you. So I was very skeptical because I didn't want to go into fantasy land. And I know Jacques Vallée talks about doing regressions that they've done studies, and some people, it's total BS. So you need to be real careful. So I was real skeptical about doing that. So I did one with her. What came out, whatever. All I could tell you is it was helpful because at the end, she said to me, you need to find a geneticist or an immunologist, something going on with your DNA. And I'm like, I'm a New York City firefighter. I cannot just go find a local immunologist in New York and go, hey, yeah, I'm contacting and I'm turning blue, and they're gonna send me to a psych ward. You know what I mean? This is not fun. Like, I could ruin my life. I'm a firefighter. I don't want to ruin my life. So I'm like, who do I know? Crap. Well, all right. I know Dr. Gary Nolan through someone. Let me see. So there's a lady named Diana Pasolka. People know who she is too. So I reached out to Gary Nolan, and he was amazing. I'm very thankful for him just saying, you're not crazy. I have heard this before. Okay. There's something going on. Has this happened in your family? And James, up until this point, I didn't know the whole context of this. I said, yeah, me and my brother have done this a ton of times. Oh my God. I brought my brother up to Maryland. I brought my stepmother-in-law up there. Like, this is nothing new. Like, yeah, we've had contact. Well, I asked my mom, I said, Mom, have anything weird ever happened? She goes, yeah, I saw a UFO. I go, wait, you what? She goes, yeah, I had a sighting in the 70s. I was like, wait, what? She goes, yeah, broad daylight, a black disc flew over the house. Me, your aunt and uncle saw it. We saw it clear as day. It had a light on top of it. It glided. It didn't fly, it glided, which I found interesting. It was silent. It glided. She goes, we hopped in a Jeep. We drove down the train tracks following the craft. It stopped over the grammar school I went to, Floral Park Belrose Grammar School. There's like a power station next to it. She said it stopped. It hovered over the power station. My mom, my aunt, and uncle stopped in the Jeep. They looked at the thing. They saw it for a couple minutes. And then she said it just like lightning, boom, was gone. It took off. And that was it. The cops showed up and they said, oh, that's just a test experiment from the government. Don't worry about it. And that they was in the 70s. They were probably like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But she goes, no, Andrew, there's something more that was not, maybe it was an experiment, but wow, whatever it was, that was incredible. So I'm like, oh my God, I wish I would have heard this 20 years ago. You could have, that would have made sense with some other things, maybe this did have something to do with what I'm seeing. Maybe, I don't know, quite possible. So I heard, I don't know, maybe you could attest to this too. I've heard from other experiences that this runs in the family.
Yeah.
Is that something you've heard too?
That's definitely a trend, and, I after I had a pretty crazy experience and, one of my family members was there, I did find out that night after that person experienced this with me that they had a sighting back decades ago in Queens, actually. And I had no idea of that until that night when we had a contact experience together. So go figure.
Yeah, it's amazing. Sometimes it comes out and you're like, wait, what? Oh my God. I was in my 30s when I heard this. I was like, I wish I heard this as a little kid. And then there's a lot of synchronicities. And then I'm hearing paranormal things through the family about relatives and them seeing relatives,
Yeah.
after they crossed.
Well,
And I'm like,
when my grandmother was in the process of passing, I was there, and for her last few days, she was having conversations with people who had passed over. And I mean, people might say that's hallucinations. I don't know, but I got the chills when I was there. It was pretty remarkable. So I don't have the answers on that, but there's a lot of correlations with that.
yeah. And I have to give a shout out to the science community for looking into this, because, if this was 10 years prior, I don't know if I would have been able to track down someone like Gary Nolan, who, could have looked at what I was involved with and getting into, and he has resources and people to ask and give me feedback to, number one, tell me you're not nuts. Number two, how did you film what you filmed? Have you ever gotten it analyzed? Have you ever gotten it looked at? This and that. That's great to get validation exterior from people. But what I have on film and video is 10%, bro, of what I'm really experiencing. You know what I mean? It doesn't even do justice, because you're an experiencer. When I'm filming it, now I'm focusing on the filming. I don't want to be filming it.
Yeah.
I want to just be there. It's so amazing. I wish just the camera was set up and just running, so that way I could just do my thing and see it, because when you're there and interacting with it without that, now you're worried about, oh, was it on? Was it off? Did someone have a flash on? I don't even want to worry about that stuff. The experience on the ground is amazing. It is incredible, man. I feel like a kid on Christmas morning when I have this contact. It is beautiful. It's gotten to the point now where before I'm outside, I'll be sitting eating dinner, or after dinner, I'll look at my wife or my kids and I'll go, they're here. They're going to be outside when we walk out there. And they're going to be exactly where we're looking at. We're not going to have to scan the sky. We're going to get out. We're going to look at one spot. We don't turn around. We don't spin our heads around. We look at one spot and it'll be there, or it's going to be there really short. Not in 5 hours. I mean, it's there, or sometimes it's waiting there. We walk outside and it's there.
Yeah.
And I'm showing this to kids, my kids that are in their teens, and I have a 3-year-old, my wife. We've all seen this stuff. When I met you and started having contact, and I met Dr. Gary Nolan, like I said, I just started talking publicly about this. This is a very touchy thing, because I was a 3rd-generation New York City firefighter. My uncle got on the New York City Fire Department, in the 1950s. My father was a fireman for 30-something years. Okay. So for me to talk about this and online, word's going to get around. I'm like, whatever. It is what it is. I don't care. Then the New York Times dropped their article, which was amazing, because then people are like, oh, maybe he's not crazy. Maybe this is real, blah, blah, blah. Well, then I'll never forget 4th of July weekend, 2018. My fiance is visiting from Australia. We're chilling on the beach, right? And I get a DM from someone from the New York Post, and it says, blah, blah, blah. My name is so-and-so. We're dropping an article about you tomorrow. Would you like to give us a comment? Tomorrow, not next week, next month, tomorrow. And I'm like, what? Wait, who is this? I've never even heard of this person. So I have to track down and find out if this person is real. I'm like, I don't want to know if it's a scam. I don't want to engage. Luckily, I did read that, right? Because if I just they're full of it. So I called an attorney, Ray Hernandez from Free.
Yeah.
Right? He's an attorney. And he goes, don't say anything. We don't know who this is. This doesn't sound right, right? So I'm like, what do you want to talk about? And I'm like, you've obviously done some background on me. So what do you want me to comment on? I don't understand. And they wouldn't tell me. So I, of course, was extremely concerned. Like, you're not telling me what you're going to write, but you want me to comment about my contact? No. Show me the article. Then I'll comment. And they wouldn't. So I was like, nah, I'm not saying nothing. Do whatever you got to do. Then I had to make the call to the New York City Fire Department press desk. And I had to tell them. I couldn't let the article run, because now I knew. So I told them, listen, I don't want any part of this, because I don't know these people. I told them, and they went up the chain of command. Their response was, that's fine. I have emails from them. They said, no problem, Andrew. We have no problem with what you're doing. You're not saying anything negative, nothing bad, like this is like evil, war of the worlds, nothing like that. There's nothing negative from this. If anything, we want more firemen to do things like this. You're helping people on your days off. Like, what's the problem? You know what I mean? You're not running some scheme or nothing like you're doing the right thing. There's nothing, no problem with this. And even if you did this professionally, what your message is just beautiful. I was like, all right, cool. At least they're behind me. So about 3 weeks happens, nothing. It's silence from the post. And then all of a sudden they drop the article anyway. So I have a feeling they might have edited a few things, but I have no problem with what they wrote. What they wrote in there, if I said it in an interview or on camera, then yeah. When you're channeling, when you're making contact, strange things happen. I mean, you could probably vouch for that, right? Some weird things might happen when you're doing these things that you can't, it's even hard to describe. So when they wrote the article, I'm like, I hope the person writing this understands the phenomena, because this can come out horrible if you're writing it with the wrong intention. You know what I mean? If you're not writing this with the right intention, or you think this is a joke, it's going to sound ridiculous. So I wanted to, ideally, if I'm working with someone or if I'm writing a book, which I am, if I'm engaging with someone, this is going to come out the right way, because this is a very serious topic now. Now it is today. 5 years ago, now it's a serious thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's come a really long way. And again, I do think, I often say, the UFO phenomenon is like the bridge between physics and what we would call metaphysics, because you have physical objects that we can see, we can track, we can film, but they're doing, they're performing these feats that we would consider metaphysical, whether it's the 5 observables, or it's telepathy, or cognitive human interface, like it said in the ATIP slide 9, and all these kind of things. And and if you really want to go deep into the effects of contact and people's transformation thereof, so absolutely. And I actually did want to get to something. Did you want to say anything else about the article?
No.
I remember
sorry,
when
no
that came
problem.
out. I was like,
Yeah.
holy crap, it's Andrew. You know what I
So
mean?
I didn't intend for that to happen. It did. And then I got asked to speak at a event in Australia,
Yeah.
the biggest consciousness conference, the Paradigm Shift. They asked me to speak. So I came to Australia. Why? I had a feeling, right? I download, whatever you want to call it, go to Australia, right? I don't know why, just go. So I went. I knew one person, Mary Rodwell. I flew out here, came here, met Mary Rodwell, made a Facebook friend on Facebook, who is now my wife, who from Australia. We met when I was here. We met, we communicated. It was just instant, boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, we're engaged. We're going to get married. Am I going to stay in Australia? Is she going to come to America? It didn't matter. We were just going to be together. We got married. We have a 3.5-year-old and 2 elder kids from her first marriage. So all those things worked out beautifully. We all have contact together. The article ended up being a blessing, because you find the right people along your path. And at that time, I met certain people and was around certain people and just kept doing what I was doing. Then I bought a good camera, a Psionics camera, started documenting my stuff a little bit better, as opposed to just an iPhone, where you get a fudgy video, or, oh, that looks like crap, or maybe you're filming something that isn't what you think it is, right? How do you really know? I don't analyze videos professionally. I'm going off a feeling. So what did I start doing? I said, all right, you better get those videos analyzed if you want some credibility, right? Like, if you're going to talk this up, how do you know you're not filming a satellite or this or that, right? I don't know. So why not? So they invented this app called TikTok. I joined that, threw my stuff up on there. And a few months ago, I got contacted by MUFON Australia, by Roger Stankovic, and somebody that he knew. They said, hey, man, can we run some of your videos? I go, go ahead, man. They go, we want to take a look and just see if they're real. I go, they are, but go ahead. And the response was, hey, man, would you like to be on TV? So I guess the stuff was real, right? If it was fake, I don't think they'd want me on TV. And I said, yeah, whatever, man. As long as you do the right thing, no problem. And they interviewed me for hours, and I'm in a docu-series that's out right now in the UK. It will be on A&E, and it will be on Channel 7 Mate in Australia, and eventually YouTube everywhere. It's called Close Encounters Down Under. I'm in episode 4. It's also on my website, thepsychicfirefighter.com. If you go there, it's right there. Right when you go there, you can watch the part I'm in right now. Boom, click on it. And they take my videos, they analyze them. They're the pros, man. They're the analyzers. This is their bread and butter. but it's on my website, the psychicfirefighter.com, as along with the New York Post article and my videos, my YouTube links, all my socials, everything's on there. During COVID, I was bored. So once again, I got to download, write. I don't write. I don't really read, write. I write out 10,000 words. And then literally somehow the next week, I'm having a conversation with someone. Oh, why don't you write a book? Really? I'm like, people would read that. So I wrote out everything. You name it, I just channeled the whole thing out literally in a few days, bang. And I wrote a book during lockdown called Angels in the Firehouse, which will be coming out at some point in conjunction with a TV series that I'm working on to discuss what I do, which is, make contact, C5 contact. What is really interesting is when I do C5, and if I'm with one person, especially if I'm just sitting one-on-one with someone outside at night, I will be able to connect them with their deceased loved ones. And at the same time, UFOs are coming. Or if we're doing a C5, I'm starting to get messages for people from their departed loved ones. Now, people can attest to this. I have been doing this for years. I have this on video. Now, will I share that publicly? Absolutely not. I would never share that publicly unless someone wanted me to. That's private stuff. When I'm reading people and things about their family coming out, that's up to the person I'm reading if they want that public. Do a reading, but if they want to share, that's up to them. I don't want to get that's up to them. But when I'm reading people outside at night, objects, the lights in the sky, whatever you want to say they are, and our departed loved ones and pets included, there is some sort of connection. I know I've spoken to about this. Ann Schreiber has mentioned this. I have spoken to Gavin about. There's a whole host of people all over the world that know this is very real and how intense this is. The feedback I'd say overall I'm getting is that it's, of course, subjective, right? It's my individual experience. So there's no one set answer. People overall, I'd say, would basically say this might be some sort of symbolic we're really not aware of. Okay, take notes, write it down, journal it, document it, see how it goes. So far, they haven't told me to do anything bizarre or crazy or that the world is ending next week. I've never heard anything. All right, give me a validation. I'm on the right path. I want a craft to appear, or I'm going through something in life. For me, since I've been doing this for over 12 years, if I'm going through a tough time, I will sit outside and say, okay, if I'm on the right path, or if I should do this, show me a validation, show me something odd, unique, different, not just a light, but it's got to be a light appears zipping across the sky, then flashing again. You know what I mean? Something weird, different, out of the ordinary to know that it's really them. I got to know that it's definitely that I'm making communication with. And that's just a little link that I've set up personally. And I've talked to hundreds of experiencers that tell me the same thing. Yep, you're right on, man. I had the same thing happen. So I know it's just not me. Tyler Henry, the Hollywood medium, he's getting into UFOs and stuff. I've seen some of the things that he's done. He understands this stuff. He's talked to Gary Nolan too. So there's a lot more to this. There's a lot of connection to this. And my job, what I'm doing is I'm bringing out awareness. The time is now, man. I don't care if it's my neighbor, someone down the block, someone in another country. I've been all over the world now, James, doing this everywhere, literally. And it's amazing. And the time is now. And yeah, so that's, with all of this stuff combined and everything that's happened, basing now with where I'm at. During COVID, I wrote the book. I started doing readings all the time because if I'm going to be doing this professionally on TV, I need to be doing this every day. I can't be, I'll do one reading a month and then going, no, I need to deliver, man. So I take this stuff seriously. Doing a psychic reading, it's serious business. Okay, it's not a joke. So I take it very serious when I read people. When I make contact, I take it very serious. This is a very serious thing going on. So this isn't a laughing stock. I'll make contact with anyone, but if someone's here for a joke or wants to, make a joke out of this thing, if they're cynical, don't even waste your time here. Keep it moving. You could be skeptical all you want, Brent, no problem. I was skeptical. I encourage it. Don't believe what I'm saying. Go do it. Go out there and do it. At least give it a shot. But if you're going to sit there and just say, oh, this is all nonsense, without at least trying it, and not just once, keep at it, you might be amazed what comes out of it, because I've seen people transform. You've been around people too, the transformation after they see something and they go, oh my God, I believe, oh my God. So you've been around me, man. You know what that stuff's like.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that's another theme I wanted to touch on was that, times are different now. We've seen a lot of things occur. Even after the New York Times story, it's been progressive. And I think that, again, ATIP slide 9 is something that we can always come back to, where it's talking about these really advanced concepts. On the bottom, I forget the exact tagline, but it says, oh, man, I can't, what was once phenomena is now quantum mechanics, is the, and I have an idea of who the author of that is, but it's really remarkable. So, pretty much what you were saying, the time is now. If there ever was a time, this is it. This whole thing seems to be coming out, and kind of like what you're talking about. It's not just about UFOs. You have this whole other aspect of psychic phenomenon, which is an almost endless kind of thing, along with the UFO phenomenon. So again, there's people playing different roles in that, whether it be you, Dr. Gary Nolan, or actually, speaking of, yeah, you mentioned you had an interesting email recently. You want to mention that?
Yeah, so I sent out an email to Kit Green, Dr. Kit Green. I'm sure you know who that is. Very, very helpful with what I've been experiencing and going through. Like I said, when I meditate, it's very interesting. I saw purple light once when I was with James. There's these drops appear in and out. So I had written to him just to get some feedback. Seems like he's mostly concentrating with people that are having brain injuries. I have not had a traumatic brain injury. I just want to be clear about that. As far as I know, I've never had anything happen. I've never touched a craft and had any buzzing or anything like that. It's actually interesting. The times I've gotten close to a craft, they've moved away. This is really interesting. I've tried to go up close, like I've seen them or a being or something. And when I've gone up closer, they'll move away from me. So I was like, all right, I'm not dumb, bro. I was living in Brooklyn at the time. I'm like, I'm going to use my street smart. Something's moving away from me. I'll let them move away, right? I'm not going to keep going at them. And I've heard stories of people touching craft and getting messed up or whatever. So I'll just stay right here. This is fine. So this thing moved back. Dr. Green basically said, your experience is extraordinary. It's very mysterious. It's subjective, of course, because it's my experience directly. His specialty, like I said, is the people with the brain injuries and with the resources, the things that he's doing. But he wanted to know all about it. So I told him all about it, just like Gary Nolan a couple of years ago. They work together. They have an experiential program. I'll tell you a little nugget here. Probably don't like me talking about this, but too bad. So what they're doing and what a lot of people don't know, okay, this is true. And I was told this 5 years ago. They're taking DNA from experiences. You might have heard that. The reason they're doing that, they want to make a drug that turns this ability on or turns it off. So people that are having contact or psychic experiences, seeing the dead, right? Some people don't like it. Some people don't want nothing to do with it. They can't sleep over it. So they want to make a drug to turn I don't want to deal with that, or give it to someone to be psychic. Or scary, bro. I was like, whoa, are you gonna make a drug from this? I'm like, you're not taking my DNA for that, bro. I don't want to be part of that, man. That's like, whoa, dude. I don't know. I feel a little weird about that, honestly. Like, it was a little scary, like Terminator style. Like, what? Oh my God! But that's the direction they're going in. And yeah, I don't have to give my DNA. They'll get it one way or the other. They'll just go in the garbage or wherever. They'll get your DNA. It's everywhere. That's why when people say they bring up abductions, I ask Greer about them. He goes, Andrew, if they wanted your DNA, they could just scoop it up from anywhere. They don't need to take you. Your DNA is everywhere. This programming and this genetic programming they have out there. He goes, your DNA is on everything. They don't need to take you and probe you. Why would they need to do that? If a civilization was 500 or 100 more years advanced than us, they have obviously moved past the point of hurting each other, because if they haven't, they would have destroyed themselves and they wouldn't exist. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't have all the answers to this, believe me, but the answers I got from health professionals like Gary or Kit, and they have Dr. I know Jacques Vallée is involved with this. Robert Bigelow's involved with this. A lot of people in that circle. I was asked by Gary Nolan, can he share my story with Vallée, with Kit, with all these people I said, go ahead, bro. You share with anyone. It's no secret. I want to get answers. That's why I went public. I don't care. Doesn't matter who I'm talking to. It's not about that. It was great to get validation from a scientist that you're not nuts. I've heard this. Tell me more. Because at first, when this is going on, yes, you think you're losing it. You're like, dude, and other people around you or people at work are like, you're nuts. Don't bring that up. Don't talk about that, bro. Me, I went the exact opposite direction and just embraced it. And then, they painted UFOs in my locker. They put alien blow-up dolls in the firehouse. I embraced it, bro. They were just like, that's Raz. Because you know what? Out of fire, I did what I had to do. And then after, that was just me, man. I was the UFO guy. So whatever, I don't care. And I still am. I moved to Australia. I got a job as a mortician in a funeral home. Once again, I was working with 2 psychic mediums training me. How go figure, right? The universe works in amazing ways. And I did that for a couple of years. Then COVID came. I wrote a book because I was bored, got a download, wrote a book. And then I was getting so many emails from all over the world. Please help me. What about COVID? Can you do a reading? That I realized it was time to full-time do readings. And that's it. I'm just doing readings all of the time now. And I'm in that show, Close Encounters, part 4, Close Encounters Down Under. And we're in development to make something on TV to explain everything that's going on to everyone, because people are ready to hear this worldwide. Some people I've mentioned over these time, some of these people hate each other in this world. And I can't stand that, because they've helped me along the way. Greer has helped me. Gary Nolan's helped me. I couldn't have them in the same room. It's too bad, but they really have both helped me along the way. Some people won't talk to me. Some people do talk to me. This world is bizarre. I'm just grateful for the people like you that I've met along the way, that we've stuck it out and put the crap to the side to realize we're all in this together, man. Like, no matter what, we're here. Let's figure this thing out. No one has all the answers, but we're all involved with this thing. We're all playing whatever role that is. We're all involved with this. So why don't we just try to come together and sort this thing out, man?
Yeah, and we're really heading towards interesting times. People listening are going to be familiar with the recent NDAA, the language, the 33 pages that was put in the National Defense Authorization Act. And even the report that was due October 31st that ended up coming out in January. It's basically outlining what was in the NDAA, because it was technically a report from last year, and the subsequent reports are going to be the reports that come forward with the AARO, all domain anomaly resolution offices in effect, funded with staff to whatever extent. People know now that, Sean Kirkpatrick has been receiving all types of really interesting briefings and having meetings, not just from people talking about crash retrievals and UFO legacy programs, but also experiencers and people who had, while in service, close encounters and post-contact effects and biological effects. So all of that coming together is really, I think, going to be, it's important that happens. Obviously, I think, there's going to be nothing like if you have your personal experience and your personal encounter, but on a consensus level for the general public, it's good for them to hear it from, an authority or, in that regard. That's just the way it is. To some extent, humans have a herd mentality. Once the subject is even more destigmatized and more information is put out there, people feel more safe. Just like at first it was just Lou, and since Lou's come out, more, Lou Elizondo, more people have come forward, and I think that's going to continue. what's your take on everything going on with what we can call the confirmation process?
Yeah, this is confirmation. It's good. It's a good conversation starter, and I think it would be too much to right away go into downloads. Like, would I walk in the White House and tell the cabinet members about my downloads? No way. They're like, what? I don't know what they know or don't know, but eventually, yeah, we'll go there. Maybe at this exact moment, I don't think it's appropriate to just roll that all out. I understand now, and I know Ralph Blumenthal and Leslie Keene. I do know them personally, and I understand why things go the way they go and they roll them out in a certain way. And I'm all for it because people with some things need to go nice and easy. And this subject can go in many different directions if you go there, but you got to explain why. And the credibility is going to be a big thing. And yes, if it's on there, they'll pay attention to it. I'm just telling you the way it is. If it's not, they'll go, well, we don't know about that. It might be nonsense. But when it's on there, they'll go, oh, wow, maybe there's something to this. So now that Tucker Carlson and people like that are talking about this, we're going in the right direction. We're moving there. We're getting there. I don't know if they'll ever come out flat out and say it, but for some reason, there's still, maybe it has to do with admitting to the fact of abductions. If they were real, what do we do about that now? Discounting them or not counting them, right? They got to address that. So I could see that being a problem government-wise, addressing that either as, oh, that's all nonsense, or, oh, no, that's a black project. Huge thing, man. And it's awful for people that are going through that. Australia as well, they're kind of watching what the US is doing. So I have no problem. I'm all for it. If Avi Loeb is listening to this, or anyone from the Galileo Project, please invite some experiences over. We will show you in person what's going on. You don't have to point your satellites anywhere. Just bring us there. We will have the phenomena appear, and then you can do all the studying you need. I mean, that'd be like a great thing, right? You get like 5 experiences. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's been brought up, and I think
done.
Avi Loeb has addressed it. To what extent they seriously pursue it would be very interesting. I mean, I think it is a worthwhile idea, given the track record. But you did mention you have a book coming out. Do you know possibly when the book might be coming out?
So the book will be released probably right around the time we're finished up doing what we're doing with TV. So the Close Encounters Then Under episode 4 is out. That's one thing. Then there's just a separate project. When I have a name and a date, I will of course let you and your audience know immediately. And the book will be called Angels in the Firehouse. The name of the show, we're not certain yet what we're doing yet. There's a couple different avenues we're looking at, but overall the interest is pretty intense. People are very interested in the subject. And then of course, when we go to talk with any network or whoever, they're like, oh, well, how do we know if he's a real medium? Can he read us? And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So I have done an enormous amount of readings for developers and people that are VPs or presidents from these companies. I have personally read them. I do not know these people. I know nothing about them or their friends. A PhD wrote to me and said, oh, I have a friend. Can you read her? No problem. I did. And I will always do that. No problem. It's not to prove anything. This is to help. This is to help people. When I got Red James, when that guy walked up to me in the restaurant, he healed part of my soul. There's no price you could put on that. And when I am reading people, I'm around them and I'm helping them, there's no price on that, bro. That's what it's all about. And if I can go around the world, whether it's on TV or not, helping people, that's all I want to do is just show them this stuff. That's all I want to do, bro, is just show them. I'm 43. I've had a great life. I had an amazing run. I want to give back and show people, just believe in yourself and my kids, show them, be who you are. And it's everywhere, dude. I am getting invites and contacts and people watching things from all the world. It's beautiful to see. There's more love than hate, without a doubt. So let's keep promoting something good, and only good will come from that, man. Be open-minded, right? Be open-minded and at least observe it. I don't know this guy. I don't really know much about him, but this Mick West dude, people like him, they should go to a CE5 group and then see what they say after. But Kraft probably won't go near him because of his energy. So that's the thing too. If you have horrible energy, or you're real negative, probably not going to see anything. you need to be open-minded, okay? If you are totally cynical or skeptical or this doesn't exist, no, you're probably not going to see anything, because I wouldn't want to be around you. You know what I mean? It's the same thing energy-wise. They're probably not going to come either, because you want nothing to do with it. You want to do it for a selfish reason. It's got to be done for the right intent with this. And you know that, James. As long as you have the right intent with doing this work, you'll have a great ride, man.
Yeah, the intention is it's really important. And I mean, you can go out and do it in with, you know, with the spirit of curiosity, for sure. But when you go out and you do it and you have a calling for it and there's a deep meaning, usually something really extraordinary happens in that circumstance. It's just the right elements to come together. And you touched on it a little bit there, but do you have any parting words for the audience?
Yeah, if you're alive and you're hearing this, you still have a shot no matter what you're doing in your life. I did not think 10 years ago that I'd be in Australia, married, children, talking about this here, okay? I was a firefighter in New York 10 years ago, you know, even less than that. So you never know, life can change. Trust that inner voice, okay? That is how the angels talk to us. Your intuition, your guides, your highest self, that wants that best outcome for you. Listen to that, okay? If you have a bad feeling doing something, you probably shouldn't be doing it. But if it's a good feeling and it feels right, there's something to that. It's like Monopoly, man, and you know, boom, you go to the next place, and then the dominoes will start falling for you, and then the right people will hear this interview, or they hear something, or take that chance, right to that person. Dude, I've written to so many people, or reached out to some people. Sometimes they don't write back. That's their problem. And then you know what? Sometimes I've gotten a response. That's why whenever people reach out to me, I write back to them. I take that time out, because you might be helping someone through a horrible time, or giving them that answer to something they need to hear in that moment. That might be the difference of something big for them, bro. I'm not saying life or death, but just getting them out of that moment that they're in, because we're all going through stuff, man. COVID sucked no matter where you were in the world. The after effects are still here, and they're coming, and they're still worse. So try to be a little understanding when you're around people. They're probably going through something too, man. And a great resolution to all of this, like I heard 10, 12 years ago when I met Greer, the C5, sit, go out there, see something amazing. Don't even say anything. Just enjoy the show. It's a beautiful, peaceful way to come together. And that is a step in the right direction. I don't know if it'll solve everything. I'm just saying we have a better shot at being peaceful if we're outside making contact and seeing and filming UFOs, as opposed to going to a pub, getting hammered, and getting into fights, right? I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. You tell me what's a better possible outcome. I don't have a problem with that. That's all good. Do your thing. Do whatever you got to do. But I'm just at a different point in my life. You know what I mean? I'm 43. I'm at a different space in my life now. And that's where I'm at today. And looking at the past, yeah, I think the outcome is probably better if we come together and talk about things like this, because I'm doing it all over the world, man. And I'm just getting warmed up, bro. I can't wait to come back to America, to film, to see you guys, to be in person in real time again, and to do this. We're going to just keep doing what we do, man. We're meant to be here. So do what you were meant to do. That's the message I have. Do what you were meant to do. Not saying leave your job today. That's not it. People get very extreme. That's not what I'm saying. You could write out on a piece of paper, get a pen. I write out, I do this. I'll write out, okay, you know, show me, you know, give me images, show me things, show me that I'm on the right path, have things revealed to me, have people reveal to me. You know, maybe you're not happy with what you're doing. Then tomorrow you're walking down the block, you run into someone that started a new job somewhere. You go, oh my God, that sounds good. The universe, okay, whatever this is, will put things in your way. But you got to be open, and it really helps if you're positive. If you're positive, oh man, you're gonna have a really good experience. If you're negative, you're gonna meet negative people. So you get, you know, what you're the mirror and the reflection.
Yeah. And again, for people watching and listening, I'm going to include links in the description, but where can people find your work?
Pretty much Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. My website's the best way, thepsychicfirefighter.com. Email me, that's the best way to get in touch with me, or any social media Best way is just email me, DM me. If I get it, I get it. I don't know if we're friends or not, or how you get it through these apps, but I'm pretty easy to get in touch with. James knows me. As long as you want to have a friendly talk, no problem. If you don't, I'm not even going to engage. You know, like I said, the cynics, I got no room for that. Go somewhere else and do your thing. I just know my story. I know what I have, and you'll see my analyzed footage like James has and everyone else. Just click on my website. It's right there. Take a look, man. And I'd love to hear feedback from people and spread the message, man. Thank you for having me, James. It's always great to see you, man. I love seeing you, and I'm glad you're still talking about this stuff, because we've seen a lot of people come and go. They don't
Yeah.
want to come and talk about this stuff. Oh, it's a little too weird. They want to go back to their bubble. That's cool. It's all good, man. No judgment. For me, for you, it's just a little different, man. We felt the calling, and we're staying on the path, and they're staying on their path. It's all good, man. We're all in this together, though, no matter what.
Yeah. And I meant to say, imagine like both of us back then, in 2011, who would have thought we would have been doing all this? Like,
There's no way when I met you, I thought we'd be here, and no, in this position, no way. What, are you kidding me? No
Yeah.
way. Come on.
Yeah. So go figure. That just goes to show you how things, come about like that. But again, it's been great talking to you and seeing you again after all this time. And I'm sure I'll seeing you again soon and talking to you again soon.
Absolutely.
So we all
Absolutely,
look forward to
James.
your upcoming projects.
Thanks for having me, James. My best to you and your audience, man. I'll talk to you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care.